Well, sorry, maybe just to put it in perspective, the title of the project is actually Population and Housing Census.
Okay, population and
It's
housing
2023
census.
population and housing, and it is
Okay.
important to emphasize this because basically the exercise is a population census, but the housing component has been added, in order to give value to to the exercise, because people will be counted in the households where they stay and how they live in those households, has a lot of implication. So that's why it is actually called population and housing census. Well, the population and housing census is, in a way, a new beginning, to give our collective aspiration an impetus to provide data for us to be able to plan effectively for the welfare of the Nigerian people. It is an investment. That is what is particularly coming after 17 years since the last census was conducted in 2006. Over time, the utility of the 2006 census has been reduced, because the demographic changes, they are very tremendous in terms of size, composition. So we need a new population census in order to give Nigeria a tool to plan effectively for national planning. And as regards your question, or when that exercise will take place, the exercise is slated to be conducted from 3rd to 7th of May 2023. Of course, there are a lot of activities, preparatory activities that will launch us into the enumeration of persons. As you all know, enumeration of persons is the highest point of the census project. We started with the enumeration area demarcation, which is the division of the country into small enumeration areas that can be covered by a pair of enumerators during the census. And over time, we'll be able to demarcate all the 774 local government areas. We have trained our personnel. We've gotten the equipment that we need for the exercise. So at this stage, what we're actually doing is to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Okay, so how do you conduct a national population and housing census in Nigeria? How is it conducted?
Well, very simple. First, after demarcating the whole landmass of Nigeria into enumeration areas, the importance of this is to ensure that there's no omission and there's no overlap, because we have actually divided the whole country. So an enumerator knows where to go on the day of the census. So that's and now on that day, each of the enumerators, that we're recruiting, they will go straight to the enumeration area they be assigned, and we meet people in their household. It's not like election where people will come out to be counted, and they collect information using what we call the personal digital assistant. In that personal digital assistant, the map of the enumeration areas have been loaded, and also the questionnaires to be asked. So as the enumerator gets to that area, he or she asks the question, and then the answer will be recorded into the personal digital assistant, and it will be transmitted real time, to the central server.
Okay, so on that, on these days now, what is to be expected of everybody, especially persons with disabilities? Are movement, or are people just stuck to where they're supposed to be?
Well, on the enumeration days, over the 5 period, first what we expect is that people should be in their households to be counted. They wait for the enumerators. You don't need, in the comfort of their houses, you don't need to come to the streets, to carry out that. For them to be counted, and including people with disability, they will also be counted in the households in where they are. As you know, this census is not only digital and transformative, but it's also inclusive, because a census that excludes the disability, persons with disabilities, is not complete. Enumeration or census is the enumeration of all persons in a given geographical space. So the people.
Okay, go ahead, sir, please.
So the people living with disabilities will also be counted in their households. And what we encourage is first to answer all the questions, first to allow to be counted, and also answer all the questions that we have, including questions of disability on that day.
accurately. All right. This is a time where you can call in to participate. This program is audience participatory. Just to let you know that we are streaming on our social media handles on Facebook at TAF Africa NG or TAF Africa, on Twitter and Instagram at TAF underscore Africa. TAF Africa on Facebook, TAF underscore Africa. So in case you're trying to reach us via the phone lines and you are unable to, you can actually watch us live and leave your comments, and I'll be reading it out during the program. We are talking about the 2023 population and housing census plans for a disability inclusive process, and we have the director of public affairs from National Population Commission, Dr. Isha Kayahaya, to give us information about this forthcoming process. What has the commission done to increase community mobilization ahead of this process?
Yeah, as you know, census is a grassroots exercise. People are to be counted at the grassroots.
Okay.
And we've actually carried out a lot of enlightenment activities, in order to ensure that people are sensitized. First, we have carried out community sensitization in market streets, in market square, I mean, street rallies, in town announcement. And we also have our enumerators working in the various communities, serving in addition to their technical duties, as spokesmen or mobilizers for the commission. More importantly, we have been working with traditional institutions and also community associations. So through all this, we'll be able to penetrate the grassroots. Of course, this in addition to the campaign we carry out on the electronic media, particularly the radio. We've also used the television, newspaper, and recently we inaugurated the National Census Publicity Committee at the national level. This same committee has also been inaugurated in all the states of the federation and the local government area, and they've been charged with the task of mobilizing the people for the successful conduct of the census. So, in terms of how ready we are, or in terms of community sensitization, I can tell you that we are almost 100% in terms of awareness for the census.
All right, more information from our guests as the program progresses: 07051493324, 07051493324, or 0915091048. Someone just sent in a message that at what time of these days, the enumeration dates, will this counting, have begun? From what time to what time?
Well, definitely to be during the daytime. And that daytime effectively starts from 8 up to 6 p.m., 8 a.m. up to 6 p.m. We don't expect our enumerators, to enumerate people at night or at odd hours.
Okay. 07051493324 or 0915091048. Hello, good evening. Okay, kindly call us and make your contribution to the program. We are streaming on our Facebook platform, and we'll definitely read your comments. You can watch us live right there on Facebook at TAF Africa. So this will be the first digital census in Nigeria's history, which is a great improvement. We're happy about that. After 17 years, that's a long time. So what will the census data for, and how will it benefit the community of persons with disabilities?
Yes, the data first will be used, will benefit the nation at large in terms of enhancing, the evidence-based development planning. As
Okay.
you know,
Sorry, sir. Kindly hold your thoughts. We have Apostle on the program. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Who are we speaking with, and where are you calling us from, please? Mr. IG, thanks for joining us today. How is Port Harcourt this evening? Okay, that's good.
I would like the man to explain some of those things.
Okay, sorry, we didn't get you. You said you would like our guests to explain what?
I can hear.
Hello, Mr. IG, can you go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said, you said that the Kenya.
Yes.
So I want you to explain what are those Kenya? Can you do some of them?
Okay. Okay, he's going to do that. Thank you so much. So Dr. Yahaya, he actually wants to know the content of his questionnaires, like the likely questions, they have to be expecting on that day.
Yeah, thank you very much. The questionnaire for the census is very robust and it covers.
Sorry, we have another call on the program. Sorry to interject. Hello, good evening. Good evening, sir. Please, who am I speaking with and where are you calling us from? Oh, Mr. Abuna, thanks for joining us today. Good to have you. Okay. 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 Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abunia. This is actually one of our very committed, participants now for this program, and he wants to know if there is a provision made, for ad hoc, probably staff, especially for persons with disability. Do we have any of such provisions?
Well, all I can say is that we open an electronic portal for the recruitment of ad hoc workers, for the national population, for the 2023 population and housing census, and every eligible Nigerian, can apply. And I'm sure there are quite a number of people with disabilities, applied and have been screened. But because we are still in that process, we are not in the position, to state categorically that so number of PWDs, have been selected for this job. But it's actually something open and very inclusive process and very transparent.
Okay, so when you are conducting this process, when we are talking about a disability inclusive process, can you give us details like what do we mean? What do we want? The person with disability or organization of persons with disability. What should we be expecting? How will this process, really? How is it different from the past census that we've done?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, as regards the way it will benefit the disability community, well, the response is going to benefit them generally and specifically. Uh, as Nigeria, as residents of Nigeria, the data that will come from the census will also be used to plan all aspects of our life in terms of infrastructure, health, education, and obviously people with disabilities will also benefit, from the data when it is used, to provide improved living condition for the people. So that's
okay. So in your questionnaire, do you have?
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have what we call there's this Washington group. Washington questions on disability, and we have actually included those questions, among the questions, and that takes me to the question initially asked, asked by the previous speaker that what is the content of that? Of course, the content has to do with demographic characteristic of the population, literacy, status, occupation. And when we talk about the demographic characteristics, we're also talking about the age,
Okay.
the sex,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
and the migration, the marital status, and quite a number of data.
What about
But
the type
specifically
of form of
about
disability?
the
The form of disability?
yeah, that's what I'm coming to.
Okay.
We have had extensive discussion with the National Commission on people with disabilities and also with NGOs, particularly the TAP, who are also involved in advocacy. And we have included the Washington group of questions on disability. Respondents will be asked whether they have challenges in seeing. They will also be asked questions whether they have challenges in hearing, in walking down or climbing steps, and also in their mental cognition. So all these are specifically questions related to people with disabilities. So data from this will be available for planning purposes. Particularly, I'm aware, of the challenges in the past in trying to get data.
Sorry, we have a caller. Hello, good evening. Can you move away from your radio set, please? Move away from your radio set. Mr. Thomas, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I just want to talk about the issue of translating inclusion.
Okay.
Yes, and this session issue, I myself I applied in this evaluation and supervisor, but it has not really been easy. It has been really an issue.
What has been the issue?
Yes, the issue is that they have other activities that been happening there. Actually, not easy because the people are doing a sort of a lot of other activities. The people are given a particular slot that gives the whole slot, they don't need to be negotiated, and it needed to be given to them, and that to be fair, and that is it. So,
Okay.
by the time I said that they are included in the process, for them to start doing them up and down and this other one, this or the other, it will really not be easy for them to get to because of their stability. So I want the population commission to have given them a portion, let's say a particular slot, that this is their own slot, so they can get through into the process. This is my thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Thomas. You heard what he said, Dr. Ishaka.
Very well.
Is this? Yeah, thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, very well. I got your point. As regards whether they are given slot or not, well, I will not be able to categorically state it, but I'm sure when if you fill the form and it's indicated that you have a disability, we can we can take that and then see how we can include them. But in situation where that information is not provided and the recruitment for the census is done at the local government level, so it will not be difficult. It will be difficult at the national level to say, okay, this is the list, and then send them to the state. Because for the census exercise, people must serve in their communities, and unless and that's the basis. So even for people to be considered, they must come from that local community, and they must have indicated their disability because it's a kind of electronic process. Unless that is indicated, we are not in the position to know whether there's disability. I mean, whether an applicant has disability or not.
Okay, so can we make provision for that?
Well, this is something that will that the commission is hoping to look at, but don't forget again that we have actually gone far in the recruitment process, and we are, it's almost
I
concluded.
think what most of our callers, are trying to say, because when we talk about disability inclusion, they're talking about inclusiveness in every sphere. So not until persons with disabilities are being, incorporated into most of these processes and most of this organization of doing things, they won't be carried along in the society. So they are trying to ask if there is a way, because during the just concluded election, persons with disabilities were, being recruited by INEC as ad hoc staff, even observers during the electoral process. So we want a situation where persons with disabilities are being included in this process. But that aside, let's move forward and let's talk about some of the possible challenges, to achieving persons with disability inclusive census. What are the commission's plans to advance them?
Well, like I said, the people with disability, they've actually, I mean, questions of people with disabilities have been included on in the census questionnaire, and we expect, that they will be available. Some of the challenges they encounter during the election period, in terms of access to polling units and all those, they will not be there.
Okay.
And our enumerators have actually been sensitized, on how to be, to be friendly when canvassing question on disability and to also ensure that they are carried along. So I really don't see that kind of challenge, that maybe there will be the place will be too rowdy, like in election, or they will not be able to gain access to where the polling unit or accreditation does. Those will not be there during this. So I can assure you that everybody, no matter the level of disability, so far they are presented for enumeration, they will be counted. In fact, the fact they are even seen in that house, they will be counted.
07051493324 is the number to call, or 0915091048. Hello, good evening.
Thank you very much. My name is Chief Rita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for calling us today.
Yes, first of all, I'm very happy that you are talking. I mean, somebody has suggested that people living with disabilities should be engaged as ad hoc workers and so on and so forth, and even the training. If it is possible, and people can go the extra mile of providing them with a sort of moving, being it vehicle, being it ticket or something that they can even move about, depends on the nature of their disability. So that they participate in the enumeration and the census work. But more importantly, even though this particular I want to suggest myself is amounts to discrimination, I want to say somewhere apart from the general census, looking the population of Nigeria, we should get also the population of people living with disabilities in this country, and then specify them, not the types of disabilities, so that we can assist them, they can be placed in appropriate places. I think it's very important for us to do that during this session.
Yes.
Let the general population of Nigeria at that same time, get the population of those living with disabilities, and classify their different types of disabilities, with the view to providing them the appropriate space and then the national planning.
Thank you so much, Chief. It's always a pleasure having you. You know, he just hit the nail right on the head. You know, that's what we are about. So, how will you react to that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as regards the engagement of adults, and particularly the need to create special stuff for them, that's a very good feedback that I will take back to the commission. As regards the other, about the need to have population of people with disability, of course, that's the essence of the census. You know, the census is not just the enumeration or counting of people as people used to believe. It's the enumeration of person, and various questions will be asked. Like I indicated, people will be asked questions, you know, on visual impairment, on hearing impairment, and also mental capacity, and also walking and others. So the essence of collecting this information is to be able to disaggregate, like you observe, on the basis on the types of disability, the age, the occupation they involve. I mean, because this information will be cross-tabulated across so many variables. Those who are in school, those who are not in school, those who are married and not married, and quite a number of things. So I can assure you that a very, very robust information, you know, on disability will come from the 2023 census.
All right, we are still expecting calls from you, but let's just go on a quick break. When we come back, disability inclusion continues as we're still focusing on the 2023 population and housing census. We have the Director of Public Affairs National Population Commission, Dr. Isha Kayahaya. Until we're back again very shortly, my name is still Jennifer Obo, your host. To stay with us. All right, let's have our news updates. To stay with us. It's hot. Sorry, sir. I don't know why it's not being turned on.
Every year is the International Day for the Celebration of Persons Living with Down Syndrome. The advocacy and push for communal and political recognition of the fundamental rights for persons with various types of disabilities, particularly intellectual disability, just as enjoyed by their peers who do not have any form of challenge, physical or intellectual, has recorded substantial success for the especially in developed times. While the same cannot be said of the situation in Africa, in Nigeria in particular, scattered breakthroughs have also been seen over the years, with the dogged effort of some specialized organizations, such as the Down Syndrome Foundation in Nigeria. The theme for this year's celebration is with us, not for us. This theme is apt, particularly in the current era where the push for inclusion has taken a center stage in the campaign worldwide. While it is comforting to know that people, government, and communities alike are now becoming more sympathetic to the plight of persons living with disabilities, it is also necessary and important that their rights as human beings deserving of not just empathy, but concrete benefits and curable to other citizens without disability is taken into consideration by their folk. Therefore, it is not enough for the government to run requirements as in Lagos State and a few other states, sections in the public schools to admit children or persons with intellectual disabilities. It is necessary to adequately equip these special schools with the needed specialized manpower, infrastructural and educational needs to attain the targeted educational goals for these persons. Likewise, in the provision of better healthcare, economic and social needs for persons with disabilities. Persons with intellectual persons do not just need to be specifically
Thank you.
educated in accordance with their type of disability, but most necessarily be able to
Not look
aspire
at it, so.
who expects to be employed according to their ability. That way, a full right fitting of a person
Okay,
be
it's
he
all
a
right. I'm
person
at the
with
studio now.
disability or not
I'm
is
sorry.
issue.
I'm
The
at half past
purpose
10.
may of going through a
Your
learning
studio.
process, acquiring specialized
I'm with Jennifer. I don't know whether.
and eventually still not giving you opportunity of gaining employment
Yes,
as
sir.
supposed. No
I'm on life now.
knowledge,
Yes, disability inclusion.
no human being should be subjected to such. Our government should do better, and society at large
You're just
should
on the
do
break.
better.
You're just on the break.
The theme for this year is joining all stakeholders,
Yes,
the
sir.
government, communities, public organizations,
Not Joshua. You're not
media
Joshua.
bodies and organizations,
Okay.
and individuals
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Joshua Adams.
Oh, okay, okay.
urgent and important needs to help in the
I think you were here 2 days ago. So,
Today?
rights of persons
Well,
Yeah, well, 2 days ago. That's
Yeah.
Aisha.
yeah.
And today too, we're here.
Okay.
human rights for women should be prioritized throughout the policy.
I came in the morning.
State of their health, mental and physical capacity. Start with us by taking active intentional steps.
So how many more minutes can you spare for us, sir? Okay, good.
It is not enough to
So,
say that you have persons
back to you.
your specific intention, targeted actions should ensure the practical applicability of these rules. Osun State Governor has directed the Ministry of Justice to review and bring up-to-date disability bills. A delegate stated this during the distribution of support materials to people with disability at the local government center and Bay Osun. He said his administration will ensure that the law will address all concerns of disabilities, promising that once the legal framework is formalized, the rest assured of full implementation as follows. Our administration will review the legal framework as it affects the people with disabilities within Osun State. To this end, I hereby direct the Ministry of Justice to review and bring up to date the Osun State's disability bill. All needed legislative and executive actions should be launched via the following link. Osun must get a disability law in due course to cater to the needs of this class of our society, Adeleke added. Earlier in her address, the coordinating director of the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Special Needs, Taiwo Oladunjoye, disclosed that mobility aids such as wheelchairs, garden canes, leading wickets, elbow crutches, armpit crutches, roller caps, thick albino umbrellas, sunscreen cream, and soap for the albinos, hearing aids, and medical aids for persons with spinal cord injury will be distributed to 240 selected persons with disabilities from all the five cluster groups, including physically challenged, visually impaired, hearing impaired, people with albinism, and people with spinal cord injury. She appealed to non-government organizations and other well-meaning philanthropists to partner with the government in providing social services to special people, saying that the government alone will not shoulder the multifaceted needs of the people of the states. I am Jemima.
Well, always a pleasure, Jemima Paul. Thank you so much for coming up with the news update. And you are on point with those messages. Nothing about us without a disability inclusive society is what we are all about on the program Disability Inclusion for National Development. My name is still Jennifer Ogo, your host on the program, coming to you live from the network service of Radio Nigeria. We're talking about the 2023 population and housing census and how it concerns persons with disability. What's the plan for persons with disability? Kindly make a contribution to the program by dialing 0705 149 3324, 0705 149 3324, or 0915 091 We're streaming on our social media platforms on Facebook at TAF Africa, on Instagram and Twitter at TAF underscore Africa. We still have our guest live with us in the studio. A lot of people have actually called in to throw in their suggestions and even ask, a couple of questions. You can actually do that right about now. But let's talk about, some of the things, some of the plans you have in place for persons with disabilities specifically. So, what plans are in place for citizens who are not proficient in English or need, some sort of language support?
Right. We have for the public enlightenment, which is very critical to ensure participation in the process.
Mm.
Our communication process is actually inclusive. It's disability inclusive. Let me put it that way. Where some of the publicity materials have been translated into braille, so that people who cannot see, will be able to get the messages. And at most of our public events, we also utilize the services of sign interpreters so that messages be particularly at mass events such as rally, roadshows, and also public press conferences, enlightenment activities. We engage the services of sign interpreters. So we do that. And again, the posters are not based. They be prepared in such a visualized manner that it's not just people who can see. They have a lot of graphic that when you look at it, you can know what you are saying in time. What the message being communicated. So these are some also at that level, the communication process, is disability inclusive, and this is very, very important to ensure their participation in the census process. In terms of the questions, when the enumerators get to a house, of course, all the people will be counted, including people with disabilities, and if people have hearing impairments, because this will be done in a group and a household context.
Yeah.
The other members of the household, they are in a position to volunteer information in respect, of the respondents who cannot see or who cannot even speak language, but in terms of who cannot even read. And of course, the demand to read is actually limited in the enumeration process because the enumerators will ask the question verbally, and it is also his responsibility to enter those responses into the PDAs. So the PWD who cannot write will not suffer any disadvantage through that. That's the first point. The second point is that we are not in a position because of the cost to assign a sign interpreter to that house, but the respondents, it depends on, for people with who cannot, who have physical challenge of movement from one place to the other, there will not be any problem because wherever they are, they will be counted. And don't forget again that the census will not really take the fingerprint. So those who have, who are handicapped in terms of the fingers not being complete will not suffer any, any disadvantage because of that. Because we're not going to take fingerprints, nor facial impression for the enumeration process. So in areas where they are likely to have disadvantage in terms of communication, that will be handled by the enumerators and they will be supported by members of the household. But apart from that, I do not really see any other main challenge that people with disabilities will encounter.
Okay, so over 190 billion naira have been allocated for this process. So how prepared is NPC?
190 billion?
Yes, a lot of money have been
Okay,
allocated.
sorry.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, of course, a lot of money has been allocated and it's far above the 190 billion.
Okay.
And this money be widely expended. Well, as regards the plans, like I told you earlier, we are in the final stage of the preparations for the census. The most basic preparation for the census is the enumeration area demarcation. We have done that physically for 773 local government areas in the country, and for one local government that we could not have access to because of security problem, we have carried out what we call the hybrid enumeration demarcation. In other words, we use satellite imaging to divide the entire landmass, into enumeration areas that can be covered. So we are done with that exercise. And in terms of recruitment, we have recruited all the personnel we need for the census. We have also trained them, is to accept that we need to carry out the last stage of the training, that's the training of supervisors and enumerators. And that will begin very soon. And after that, what remains is to carry out what we call household listing and numbering. And then here we go, we move into this exercise proper. Like the personal digital system we're going to use, they are ready, and presently they are being configured. And that configuration involves fetching the EA maps, putting them, on the PDAs, and then also loading them with the questionnaires. So gradually we are prepared.
Sorry, 0751493324 or 0915091042. We're talking about the 2023 Population and Housing Census. We have our guests in the studio from the National Population Commission. So, Dr. Yahya, what kind of support does the commission need to enhance, an accurate census enumeration?
Support from whom?
General support, maybe from other organizations.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
Well, the most basic support, which is also a civic obligation that we require from the people, is to allow our enumerators into their houses. This is very, very important. We want, because enumeration will be carried out in the houses, not on the street. And if you don't give them access, to the households, definitely they cannot carry out that exercise. So the most important support we require is that cooperation, which is very, very important. And then support, if they are in a position to carry out. The enumeration will be carried out in all the land areas, and these are very, very vast area, given the size of Nigeria. Some will take place in a hard to reach areas where our enumerators will require accommodation. Even if you have your money, you can't get hotels. So we expect that communities, will become very handy in providing this needed logistic support, and also for movement of enumerators from one place to the other. Some of the enumeration areas, they are far flung, so it will not be easy for the commission alone. And that's why we have been trying all our possible best to ensure that we leverage on the existing structure, working with communities, with the national security, the security and logistic committees have been activated at the national, state, and local government area. So the support we request, or we demand from Nigerians, is to give us the maximum cooperation we require. And for those who are in a position to support us in logistics, we also support that. And more importantly, we require the support of the people in terms of having confidence in the National Population Commission that will do a very good job. Nigeria is a very, issues are always contentious in Nigeria. Issues are always being politicized, and we want census to be safe from all these controversies. We don't need it. The essence of census is to provide data for national planning. So issues of religion, ethnicity should be played down, or even politics. The census process should be saved the ordain of politicization. We don't need it. We just need to conduct a technical exercise, and the data will be available for planning purposes.
Okay, you've heard it. The census process is apolitical, so you make sure you cooperate duly. Now, let me talk about something that have actually been on my mind, a thing of concern. Now, it's about double, I don't know, call it double enumeration or double counting, of citizens. What's the message to citizens to me?
Wow, coverage error.
Yes.
It's also a problem in the census. People haven't been enumerated and they want to be enumerated again. And we've always had this, in various dimensions. We have double counting, multiple enumeration, ghost enumeration, and others. But for the 2023 census, this is not going to be possible because we have actually automated our system in such a way that all those ones, can easily be detected. First, if you are enumerated, an indelible ink will be put on your hand and on your left thumb, and that will be a sign that you have been enumerated. So it's not something that we can clean away easily. So that will stop double enumeration. In other words, if you are counted in one place, you cannot go to another place within the census period to be counted again. And also for people who have the intention of migrating, we will discourage this because you don't need to move from where you are normally renting and just to call state of origin or local government origin to be counted, because if you stay in a place, you are likely to stay in that place for 11 months, 2 weeks. Why won't you allow your data to be captured in that place, and the data used to improve your welfare, and you want to move to a place where you don't stay? So even if you are counted there, that counting will not have any value, on the planning process.
Okay, in other words, stay where you are.
Stay
So
where
you
you
don't
are.
need to go to your local government area, go to your state of origin in order for you to be counted. The program is still Disability Inclusion on the Network Service of Radio Nigeria. We're talking about the 2023 National Population Census, the Population and Housing Census plans for a disability inclusive process. 070514933324 or 0915091048. Now let's talk about the role of the community of persons with disabilities. What role do they have to play to ensure a disability inclusive census?
Well, they have started playing that role. The disability community, they've been engaging the National Population Commission at various levels. First, starting with the National Commission on Persons with Disability. The executive secretary, has paid advocacy visit to the commission, and the commission has also, retaliated. Let me put it that way. Trying to explore areas of understanding, on how to cooperate, and they are actually following that process. And we believe that through this, the commission has been more disability friendly. And of course, the staff, they've also been engaging the commission not long ago, I think specifically on 3rd of March. A workshop or a meeting was convened at the commission question, and to see to what extent those questions, respond to what we call the Washington group discussion, a Washington set of questions on disability, WQD. And largely, I think they've been satisfied that we have actually included those questions in the questions to be canvassed during the census, like questions on seeing, hearing, deaf, and also physical challenge. So all those questions will be captured. And what I think I want the disability community to do is to follow up on that process. Like they do monitor for election, like they do establish situation room, during election period. It would also not be a bad idea, to have a disability situation room for the census to see how we have actually complied with all and also see areas where things are not going all right, attention to those areas, for possible redress. So we expect that the participation of people with disability will not just stop at the level of being available for enumeration, but to also follow the process. And I believe that is being done. Presently, we are getting quite a number of organizations, CSO, they've approached us to monitor the census, and we are very open to that, because all we have on our hand is a transparent process. So we believe that the disability community will also take advantage of our openness to monitor the process.
Okay. So do you have any additional information for us regarding, this forthcoming census?
Right?
Is there anything you want the public to know? Is there a message you want to put across, especially to the Organization of Persons with Disability?
Yes. What I just want to say that the census is not complete with people if one person and more people with disabilities has been excluded, they must be included. And the responsibility for being included first lies on the commission, but it also lies on themselves, because on the day of the census, we are not going to go into every room in the house. People have to really come at least to the living room for them to be counted. We will not be knocking, assuming it's it's a 4 or 5 bedroom. We will not have all the rooms to be open for us for the purpose of counting the people. We expect that people will be mature enough that we also respect their privacy. They will come into the city. So we expect first the heads of household, if there are people living with them, to present them, not to cover up, for them to be enumerated. And in cases where they need support, They should, particularly if the respondent is not in a position to respond to some of the questions, maybe because of hearing disability or seeing disability, to also support them to provide the necessary questions, to the answer. So this is my appeal, that the task of ensuring an inclusive census that will carry along everybody with disability is not a task for the commission alone. It's a collective task that the disability community organization working on disabilities will also join the commission.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for everything you've said. You've been so apt in all of the questions you've been answering, and we are sincerely happy. I can sense the level of assurance and know that National Population Commission is really prepared for this process. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so you've been listening to Dr. Ishaka Yahaya, the Director of Public Affairs from National Population Commission on the forthcoming 2023 Population and Housing Census. My name is still Jennifer Ogo on the program. Now, let's give you a message, and that is what the Disability Act says about assistive service and airlines. So, according to Section 14 of the Disability Act, all airlines in Nigeria shall ensure the accessibility of their aircraft to persons with disabilities. So, they shall also ensure that persons with disabilities are accorded priority in boarding and disembarking from aircraft, and of course are assisted to get on and off the board in safety and reasonable comfort, and also make functional wheelchairs available for persons with disabilities who need them to and from the aircraft. All airports shall make presentable and functional assistive and protective devices available for the conveyance of persons with disabilities who need them to and from the aircraft. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. All right, now where we give you our star of the week, and the star of the week is Stella Iwabu to stay with us.